A couple of hundred residents gathered last Monday at the studios of Key West to hear from local candidates looking to win a seat in the November 8th election. It could have opened with the panel questioning the two remaining mayoral candidates, Craig Cates, the incumbent, and resident gadfly, former attorney Sloan Baczynski.
Greetings again, Earthlings. My opponent declined to be here. And therefore, I brought a proxy for my opponent. I got this, that I needed to act like Donald Trump tonight and just drop effing bombs on you, which nobody could answer. So, here they come. Rent control all over Key West. I would push for that. Raise minimum wage all over Key West in private industry. I would push for that. Raise city employees' wages so they can afford to live at Perry Court. All right. Arrest and jail illegal transit rental violators, including Ed Swift. Fingerprinting, mugshotting, and the citizen, of course, definitely the citizen will report this the next morning. Every time he gets arrested, every one of these people ought to be treated that way. And the statute allows you to arrest them and put them in jail instead of fining. Allocate all of the city's state-allowed new residential rental permits to actually affordable rental housing, and the developers get none of it. Sorry, disband Key West Police Department and pay the sheriff to provide law and order in Key West. We know the police department murdered Charles Amos, and we know they can't stand up to the outlaws, so what do you want them for? Let the sheriff do it. He's much better. Use local physicians to run the hospital, and ask the United States Department of Justice to prosecute the community health systems for monopolistic price fixing and price gouging. Provide hurricane shelters in Key West for everyone. To hell with waiting on Tallahassee to approve Uber. Approve Uber.
Time. Perfect. Thank you, Sloan.
Mr. Baczynski is a write-in candidate. If you intend to vote for him, you'll need to write in his name on the ballot and fill in the corresponding bubble.
Come up. That's Stanley Zuba and Janet Wood.
Then came the candidates for Mosquito Control Board District 4, followed by District 1.
In the world there is to know, but I can tell you this much. I know enough to listen to you, I know enough to find out the answer for you, and if I don't know it, I will get back to you very
The candidates were grilled about their positions on the experimental release of genetically modified mosquitoes.
My question is genetically modified mosquitoes, biotech, mosquitoes, biolab. We're down here in mosquito country. We have this Zika virus thing that's developing. Forget about the referendum. If the election were tomorrow and your votes decided it, would you, yes or no, call to release the GM mosquitoes in part of the Keys?
I would vote no. Until the trials and all the facts are known about Zika and the menace it is to us.
Same question? Yeah, the issue of genetically modified mosquitoes is obviously the biggest one in this campaign. Right now, there is not enough information out there for me to vote yes for the release of the mosquitoes. A lot of questions that remain to be answered. One has been brought up by a lot of physicians here in Key West. Dr. Jack Norris and about 30 physicians have signed a petition asking for more information regarding tetracycline resistance that may be on the bacteria of the mosquitoes themselves. Not the mosquitoes, but because they're being raised in a tetracycline environment, that they're worried about resistance, and for methicillin-resistant staph, it's the only medication we have. Well, almost the only one. So until those kind of questions are answered, I would not be in favor of releasing them.
I know it's popular to say, oh no, we're going to wait. What's so bad about it? It's not a new species. It's not a new species. And what are we going to do with? What are we going to keep spraying? We're going to keep. Well, it's not. It's not. I mean, what are we going to do? There's a public health threat.
The use of the controversial pesticide naled was also debated.
apparently safe, and it does kill just the adult mosquitoes, but unfortunately it also kills all our bees, and it also kills our butterflies, and it also kills all of our small insects. And my position would be to stop using this as much as possible, as soon as possible. That's why we have to continue to look at new scientific technologies that don't use these pesticides. And there's others besides GM mosquitoes.
To hear on NBC a report on the main news that there is a significant reduction in tourism to South Florida due to Zika. The actual quote they gave was 15%. I don't believe. The question to you is, your chairman, Phil Goodman, who is, I believe, a chemist, is quoted as saying, we're in the public health business, not the public opinion business. The board, he believes, will make a better decision than the majority of uninformed people. Why did you vote to ask the electorate what it wants and thereby delay an action plan?
As Chairman Goodman has his opinion, as do we all. I was elected into this office to listen to my constituents and make decisions based on their interest. They wanted their voice to be heard. This is something that has not been tried in the United States before. So I think we need to listen to all of the voices. These are the people that put us in office to represent them, and asking for a referendum for the residents to voice their opinions, I think was the right way that the board should have gone.
Just afraid of Zika as everyone else. I'm a newly married fertile female, so I have as many scares as everyone else does. But I'm also a resident of Key Haven, and I do believe that the citizens have a voice. Monroe County votes yes, and Key Haven votes no. I'm going to vote no. I also have questions and concerns about the GMs. Thank you.
Hello, I'm a single, fertile, Zika-free man.
Thank you, Ollie. I was thinking there was too much to this thing going.
I would have voted no, and I still would vote no. I'm happy that there's a referendum.
I know there are other options out there right now. Wolbachia, that has been brought up. We have gotten federal approval. We signed on to an experimental use permit that they're using out of California. We're awaiting state approval. Wolbachia will probably not be able to be used until the spring of 2017.
Were you here during the dengue outbreak? And did you live here?
I was here and I had a baby.
We're done. Let's move on to this one.
Yeah, we're both.
Yeah, okay.
Why is Todd being so angry?
We were over time.
In the race for clerk of court, Kevin Maddock and Ron Saunders appear to have very different views of the job.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Maddock, and I've been working very hard and running for the clerk's office for a year and a half.
First question.
All right, this question will be for Ron. So obviously you're a seasoned politician and an attorney, so you've got 2 strikes against you.
And old.
Just kidding. Well, I'm going to say
As
that.
far as what I'll do first is use my legislative background. I was on the Legislative Budget Commission. It's a 12-member commission that's in charge of 45% of the Monroe County budget for clerk. I would go up to Tallahassee and get them to restore the hundreds of thousands of budget cuts we've suffered in the last few years, which is why we have not been able to fill the vacancies, and we haven't given pay increases. That's number one. Number two, I would use my experience as the attorney for the clerk's office to finish up the contracts we have outstanding for various things. Those are 2 things right away we can do. Get the people that are in the office now properly trained, they're already good people, and secondly, get the funding back, and third, be to go ahead and finish up these contracts that are outstanding. Those are things we can do immediately. Thanks, Ron.
I'm the last county employee that's had the skill and qualifications and experience that has had the ability to close the books and see this county through the audit. There's no one there that has that ability. So, although my opponent had a nice answer there, he doesn't have the ability to train this staff, and you'll have to spend that hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to close the books and run the office. And you're going to have inferior service throughout the year because you can't come down as a consultant and do the difficult stuff and then expect the rest of the year to run fine. And that's been one of the primary problems for the last 4 years.
Gotta tackle.
Well, first let me rebut what he just said. I think just because someone can micromanage and be able to train somebody, that's not the job of the clerk. The job of the clerk is not to close the books. The job of the clerk is to hire good people who know how to do it, and that's what I'll do.
That is the biggest complaint in the audits every year, that management lacks training, supervision, and review. Now that finding, that complaint was not against an individual. It was not against the outgoing clerk. It was against the management team. And my opponent was part of that management team. He's talking about supervision and leadership, but that's been an independent expert's comment that is what's been lacking. Once you have that in place, once people are properly trained and supervised, they know what to do, and you don't run around fighting fires from one disaster to another. It's been known for a long time that the clerk's court server was obsolete and at the risk of crashing. And I was warned if I became clerk, the first thing I would have to do would be to replace that technology and upgrade it. Okay, well, that server crashed about a month ago, and the entire county's legal profession was offline for 2 days. Now, the frustrating thing about that is the replacement hardware was sitting in boxes up in that room for over a year. That is a demonstration of a lack of leadership. We could have lost permanent loss of data if that backup tape had scratches on it. Fortunately, it didn't. But that is not how we run the office. You have to understand all aspects of the office. You have to be proactive and manage it and take care of problems before they become a disaster.
Level. And I disagree that clerk's just a ministerial role. I believe being an activist clerk to go to Tallahassee and fight for those state dollars we're entitled to back down here. There's no reason to make these cuts happen that we should not get those dollars back down to the Keys. I did that as a legislator. I went up there and fought for millions of dollars for education and environmental programs. I was chairman of the Appropriations Committee in charge of the budget. I know that system. When I saw a problem, I fixed it. You need a problem solver for clerk of the court, not just a ministerial.
In the race for public defender, we have Trish Doherty-Gibson, Chief Assistant Public Defender with 22 years experience in the office, opposed by attorney and former dive shop owner Robin Lockwood.
Somebody that's been done one job for 22 years versus somebody that has diverse experience. I have diverse experience running a business, both sides of the aisle legally. I've been an assistant state attorney and an assistant public defender, and we had Subtropic Dive Center here in Key West and Key West Information Center.
I think we need to be clear about my opponent's diversity. He ran a family dive shop for a few years. He was the assistant state attorney in Broward County for 2 years, quit that job to run for Broward State Attorney or Broward Clerk of Courts, lost, came to work at my office, worked for about 2.5 years, quit that job to run for this office. That's the diversity.
You've probably heard people say, how can you defend somebody if you know that they're guilty? How do you respond to them?
If I had a nickel for every time that I was asked that, I wouldn't have to run for this job. You know, I believe in the system. I believe in the Constitution. I believe that you have the right to an attorney, whether you're guilty or not.
I think Key West has no open container law because the only people who get arrested are homeless people, and they do time for this. Does the law need to be changed, or is the enforcement, is it even constitutional to just constantly arrest homeless people and let everybody else walk around with booze?
Well, I think Sheriff Ramsey would probably agree with you that he doesn't want his jails filled with people who are getting arrested for open containers. It's a tourist town. I certainly do believe that you know, people come down here and they probably do things that they would not necessarily do in their own town, and we're about to see that in a couple of weeks. You know, it's a hard question to answer.
One sentence answer from each of you. If you could change one thing about yourself to make yourself a better public defender, what would it be? Robert first. Robert.
Can I have 1 minute to think about it? That defeats the whole purpose. I wish I could get into the head of somebody that is mentally ill and has a substance abuse problem to know what they're thinking and why it keeps repeating.
Brian.
Hey, a quick one to Robert. Trisha's been very active in community service. Please tell us more about your involvement in this community.
So my first dive into the community service was while being a part of running my own business. You know, it's a standard, a lot of people say, I've been in this, we can do a long list, you can be in Rotary, we can, Chamber of Commerce, and everybody has.
I'll go home and watch the presidential debate.
This is obviously a partisan race. Robert's running as a Republican, Trish is running as a Democrat, and I guess I can ask this question for either one of you two. Do you believe that are political, philosophical differences between you and your opponent?
I think to represent people who are charged with offenses and are indigent, you have to have a little bit more of a democratic outlook on life. I'm not sure what my opponent's real political affiliation is, since he ran as a Democrat for clerk of court, and now he's running as a Republican for public defender. So I'm not sure exactly where he stands.
I changed my party affiliation in Broward County because out of respect for my boss. Yeah, I mean, so what? But you know what? I'm socially liberal. That's how I grew. I love everybody, and I've always had a good time.
Okay, Robert?